For those who have determined that have found me here or following along anything, I've come to determine that I've just followed my inner younger childhood a little bit too far, is actually what I've come to determine. In that I have determined that the series of notes I've been leaving for myself is actually a request to my elder senile pastor who needs to take himself off of his pulpit in his having taken not using the baptism of the Baptist church I was baptized in 1977 is when I was adopted into the family that raised me in Christian schools. And what I've been able to do, follow through the Dead Sea Scrolls into this baptism, into this cult, center of the road, middle of nothing, middle of nowhere, middle of the nothing. We're just there breathing my dog's air. Baptist church, to be honest. It was a really good Baptist church, but we had no science, no legitimate science. I had legitimate science in high school, in Christian schools, so we weren't taught Darwin. In order to find a way, how could we Baptists help with the Darwin delusion I've always felt all of my life? I watched the Darwin illusion of record keeping of Earth history appear. We watched it on PBS. It was there. That was so we also learned, and then we learned how to conflict with it in school. What are we conflicting with when we should be not when we should be enjoying soccer and tending to our animals in a socialized setting, similar to what Catherine the Great had, as we were provided a little bit different layer of how we taught our children what to do, and what are we restricting them to only be permitted. An atheist teaching, sorry, an atheist teaching, we're doing no accreditation as teaching facilities outside of who we gather and congregate with any of the credibility to teach anything. And all of the credibility we have is that 100% of everything went kapla at Neolithica. The we are the dense Neolithica. So it's an intentional I feel what I'm outlining is having followed James Ussher in the Bible, yes, disappointingly gotten it in the scientific theory of origin, yes, of course, because it is a disappointing 6,000-year Earth legend all at once for all eyes to see. A single disappointing 6,000-year Earth legend. Just caught, and it's an on and off. A single disappointing. We can use this single disappointment in under by Christmas and have our I don't even know what it is right now. What is it now? Date. So date Wednesday, January 29th, it's too late for Christmas. I'm sorry. By blowing up shit in for 4th of July. The week ago, Kennewick Man. I'm currently looking here for that pastor in Toppenish, Washington, not looking at the news, not looking at his personal relationships with this group of people. eradicated 100% of all history with that irrational relationship that described to me this, me using Kennewick Man as out here found 96. When I was baptized, you're forgiven. This pastor who refused to talk to me about it, you're not. You're fired. It is one of the most complete ancient skeletals ever found. You had nothing, no help. You didn't even know about it. You don't know the science that took us to find that. 96, they stumbled. So DNA results show that he was, and they still were stumbling around because what that didn't show them is that here, over in the New York Times, published in 2015, in 2000 Science. I'm kind of recording myself. New York Times, you had a fault right here in your reporting with the actual relationships, and you actually stumbled into this. There's a biblical prophecy of no more buying or selling of books, and that is at and within you on this internet at 200 and fucking trillion dollars delusions of you think you should vote at 22 trillion dollars of debt. Stupid, in my opinion, but you're not humble to that reality, and that's why you have that. That's kind of silly. It's on Facebook. Come on. NPS archaeology program, Kennewick Man. Yeah, so Ira, come on, Ira Glass. Shame on you. Why didn't you talk about this one? Where are you from? You're a Jew. Is this related to you? You said you're part Jew, Ira Glass. I have that question for you. Ira Glass, you have on your NPR as NPR, NPS, or, oh, I'm sorry, that's NPS, not NPR. Who is Kennewick? Oh, you never asked that one. Okay. Ancient Kennewick Man fossil. Life science, you kids have it. Well, I'm having to send a bunch of shitty notes to you little immature scientist people who think apes grew up to become you, typing on Facebook, writing all of these. You're at 5797772. Wow, I have three sacreds. That article has as my dog Trump's, but 777. Good job. Yay, you got one. And you should have read it a little bit closer, I guess. Tried buried. Seattle Times, this is past tense. You guys buried this information. Remained of ancient ancestors known as Kennewick Man. Put all of this Neolithic crap past tense so we don't go out and erase more. It's past tense. We erased world history with this Neolithic entrance, exit, and refusal to recognize it meant that we were kind of broken at ancient Kennewick Man reburied by tribes. He was hidden. He was there. This is the red road. Why I'm reaching out to us maturely, saying this is why I'm worried. No, we shall have no conversation about the 100-year, 80 years. Yeah, we're going to blow up dams. We engineered 1,000-year shit into it. The one you were expecting. Ancient Kennewick Man is mine. With that engineering 1,000-year shit into it, I'm picking out your accidental erasure got questions, or where on that page it told us of the warning, and in all of the pages you don't actually discuss much of the occult status of keeping occult information. Actually, you're a warehouse of information of the occult. So let me because you are actually what is the occult. So let's see what you don't know you are. What is the occult? What is occultism? There, what are you do? What were we doing with all of the prophetic shit? Said go over there, which is a form of occultism. So you went over there to figure out what over there, but you put your false authority into all the other stuff, which I see most of. What would we sermon preach about the guy over there that we admit that is deflecting us from the words of the Bible, where Matthew chapter 5 verse 1 began. If we understood where it began at that was Jesus's handwriting. That was, and here we have a 6,000-year legend that I'm trying to tickle a little bit, saying, "Oh, look at how funny this is. Good. I'm going to look for our Sparkies when I'm done." What are the difference between cults and the occult? That is no. Whiten everything. The differences, because we see it like this black, we don't know that we are with this, like this, with the priest raping boys with $250 trillion in debt. That's that God did that to us. That's where we're at in world history, please. So what does a seance? That's we're able to go to the zoo like this, I guess. That while we're sitting there and get comfortable for somebody to perform and listen to, who am I seeing? Who am I? Where am I at? Where am I at? I'm sitting. I put myself in a. There's, of course, the far down stadium upwards. Why do we have no books? Why do we have no Bibles? A performer out there who doesn't sit down to have us handwrite the Bible. And we're carrying forward this Jewish performance legend of, well, God could sprinkle some magic fairy dust and keep this going on and keep us looking at this performance. But this man there, I'd like him to retire, because he's dancing around a little bit too much. He doesn't understand that the Christian church somehow kept a medieval manuscript broken by the Jews. And I think it was God to kind of say, fuck you, you got your world history wrong with the Darwin. It was real. With that eyes wide shut refusal, I honestly believe it was God saying fuck you with this to the Cold War era. That is where, that having experienced my relationship with distribution of the Bible in Russia, so I'm calculating Earth history with also the knowledge of that Neolithic. With that Neolithic over there, wow, look at what they did. Red Square actually had two churches. They controlled what books they could have. When I handed them the Bible, they were, oh, I've always wanted one of these. And they went back to their same exact fucking church, medieval. It's and it was different. They didn't teach it. They taught a specific form of, be scared of the news and only permit our kids to talk about the bullshit during the nothingness of, we had mommy watching soap operas in the when she was not preparing dinner, and always kind of grumpy because she was frumpy. No, it's my Baptist family was totally broken. David, my father, totally never once heard I say I love you. We know that one. He loves me like Christmas. He bought me a CRV. So it's we get that one. It's my father David one, and we need this for our kids, because I put 13 years direct dedication into this. Is kind of where I'm at, friend who joined, uh, and why I'm using pets and animals and making this a little bit different than even when I began. I have collected, I've spent 13 years collecting what represented to me that this thing is the shell of nothing. And having disassembled this thing to become a shell of nothing through having everything I collected into it, it's a 7.7 billion of a shell of nothing with a medieval magic oops of a shell of nothing at James Ussher over here, a shell of nothing at James Ussher, we didn't actually read The Shell of Nothing at James Ussher. When in The Shell of Something, I've had to coordinate and collate The Shell of Something to put some pictures in between our irrational irreverences. I'm just posting. I finally got around to Facebook. This is for Facebook. The Zohar is actually for Facebook, and it is how we can reach out as Baptists. But I'm reaching out here on YouTube, saying, explaining this is the tap you on your shoulders, please sit down for the 2020 resurrection. In that is a legitimate request, because in the 13 years, all I can do is say please as what I am doing, because I'm trying to get the church that became a cult from mismanagement of Baptist. Yes, I've gone into Baptist from the back end, from having been 10 into I'm pulling it apart. At the pictures I saw on the walls of Adam and Eve, it's strung up around a little daisy tree, stuff, shit I don't have, shit that we can see on this internet that's better described as playing tarot with God, when compared to when I was baptized and what they would permit us to talk about, and then what they told us the other shit. What did Jesus? I don't even know what he taught me. It was so long ago because it was so irrelevant, and all of them were irrelevancies. These were such shallow nothings as sermons. It is a eyes wide shut, shallow nothing as sermons. Who was King David? Let's look in Joshua. Then Joshua built an altar unto the Lord God of Israel in Mount Ebal. What did we do with shit like that? As Moses, the man who over here, God's willing to use our website, having removed the face-to-face relationship and not ask this particular question yet, to make us go kind of poopy, to say, how did he do that? That is a final day, for all eyes to see, legitimate question we have to answer. How did he do that to our in 100% 2020 7.7 billion of us churches? I've got a cult right there, I've got a cult right there, I've got a cult right there, I've got a cult, and I don't have this cult, but I've got a really good form of this cult over there that does not have Sparky's tape, because it's the eldership that is in the range of my parents and their younger friends, left remnant of sometimes the 30s and 40s show up with them, but it's just that remnant of way out here in Wheatland, and it's about to go kushoosh again into the nothing of some youngers are going to get their Neolithic party whatever's into their sacred buildings, into these amazing period stamped wheatland out of I'd like to describe it as out of Germany. Germany was Germans we were interned in Siberia, and it happened again someplace else. And during the time when Catherine the Great came about, we had different relationships, better described as Hungarian businessmen playing poker, playing tarot together on this internet. To be honest with you, formal and informal relationships that we would have had, our culture and society where we, where the day and era where children were planned for through how we would use them in our own facility and our own. Do I want more kids to help me plant corn type shit? And how will I use my children to compensate for the expense? And how will I guide them in the way that they are supposed to go by being hands-on with them? In the Native American community, it's starting to pick up a little bit, where we're seeing women willing to actually diaper train and potty train their child uh, from birth, because feeding them naturally and not that bullshit makes them poop really bad stuff. You'll have a much different relationship with the child rearing. So duh, what do we Baptists are dense about? We knew that was easier, the simplest, most common thing to do. A Bible and binky, a binky and a bottle. What did Christ say he was going to do? He gave us a binky and a bottle, and a broken cult, 6,000-year legend, a binky and a bottle, and Baptist. That white church buffoon. That man down there, multiple attempts breaking into my house, front and back door at Lutheran, and you know, medieval, to where, who can I call out to help me for something like that in my community? Nobody gives a shit. They knew. Some of them participated. Who cares? Nobody gives a shit. In a wheatland, German, we even have, this we blew off that earth history because we refused to open our eyes to accept the most obvious errors. 2020 is what I'm doing here for us. And this Neolithic, disappointing Neolithic, is why I can only record myself. And this disappointing Neolithic is why I can demonstrate. This is why it's a performance. I'm bringing us out of the Neolithic. This thing, okay, you're broken. Let's get out of the Neolithic with the 6,000-year earth wind and maggot writing. That's on and off. Please, 500 little. Let's see what this said about that. As for the unbelievers, it is the time whether or not you forewarn them. They will not have faith. It's not your fault. God has set a seal upon your hearts, which is everything, because everything happened exactly as purpose. Their sight is dimmed. I know that we're just opening right here at 6,000 years with in order to demonstrate this is the actual final judgment into a King James Version Bible that does not actually exist. Over here, I'm doing from memory, tickling this website that took one individual verse out of the Bible, said it meant something else when they asked the question, has anyone ever seen God? Rather than saying, why did they not understand this one verse? Ariel Sharon, will you help us? What happened to our Bible at the Dead Sea Scrolls? And rather leaving this final judgment, perfect transfiguration layer of, we from right that verse that misinterpreted into, I need to now kind of figuring out what that legend was. And that legend was pulpit preaching. The whatever you said after that about whatever it meant, it was the difference between the construct of sitting down and as father and son, pastor and student, rabbi and teacher. When my master began me we sat there for hours and calculated and worked together, wrote things down, and you could the Hebrew you're fucking with an English language, which is just a language with which the word evolve is. Um, you have no formal boundaries, and Rabbi Shimon said, put a fence around Torah. So without any formal boundaries, I'm tapping out, reaching out right here, saying that without any formal boundaries, because I'm 500 years off of Neolithica. So here, establishment of the formal boundaries, we took the wisdom and time to ask Australia how they felt about us teaching the Bible medievally with the proof that kept us not opening our eyes to looking at their existence of 65,000 years and the possibilities of how that affected the $250 trillion in debt. That's a worldwide. I'll take the 22 trillion with the 9200 because that's so out there that it is so out there that it is so out there that it is the world's largest long shot for anything. I'll admit it, I think. So if this is for real, it's way out there. Jesus was whispering the sweet nothings into both Moses's, which we can't explain, and 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 what's his name, Muhammad's ears, as his congregation's going, wow, that was a rabbi out there, and they're doing weird things over there. Now he's over here. We're seeing him. We're seeing him as he's whispering sweet nothings, telling us about our covenant. Wow. And then now we have two airplanes, and then and is and grievous punishment awaits for them. There are some who declare, we believed in God, or we believe. I'm putting everything into past tense. We believe in them. You guys do believe. Thank you. I got you at 6,000 years. Everyone was like this. I got you. I need you. Yes, the 6,000 years. Yes, let's massage it a little bit better. Just blow on it a little bit more and look at science. And this science I'm blowing it on a little bit more was, when did we get writing? Blow on it just that one time. Is that one, oh, no more buying or selling of books. What do we do with this? Because I'm going through 100% of the occult that I can get my fingers on. I'm just recording myself in order that it's an eye-opening experience. Because if I'm willing to do that and put kindergarten as Kabbalah in order that you can understand me making Kabbalah kindergarten using my dog in order to solve NASA's delusional theory of apes evolving into them using this internet and a few newspaper articles. Type, oh, that's what we need for a final judgment. Silly catch of a happy, joyous, free. We had Alcoholics Anonymous already. Now we can open our eyes to our dark age blackout. It's free. Oh, this is a good God. There are some who declare we believe in God in the last day, yet there are no true believers. So even they don't believe their own shit. They don't even believe because they didn't know Jesus and was sitting there whispering sweet nothings because he was just a wandering Jew, and he made up the whole cross thing. he recorded Barabbas. That was a real legitimate thing he watched, and it wasn't Jesus magically written down 6,000 years. We can't figure out when these books were written down. Oh, the delirium of the year 1666. What broke this entire internet is that what I've come to recognize is a delirium of our ecstatic delirium of the joy of seeing the Pope the joy of having a priest, the ecstatic delirium of having a pastor, the formal teacher, the leader, very good man. Bless us, having the ecstatic delirium that they were thinking the right thoughts and pure enough to have the Holy Scriptures things that they were teaching in a medieval format. There we go. This is a good God. They seek to deceive God and those who believe in them, and they save themselves with an ecstatic 6,000 year earth, delirium Baal Shem. Though they may not perceive it, there is a sickness in their hearts. On my email with Soren Kierkegaard, absolutely, which God is aggravated. That's a myth of Sisyphus. They shall be sternly punished for the lies they tell you. I don't want any punishment because this is all no. If I can take the whole Bible away at Matthew chapter 5, verse 1, in order to explain this is when this verse was written down, best I can tell, by whom, and let's just turn this website into a, by the way, we kaplap right here, and if Baptist congregations just read this newspaper article why I'm the year 1666, the Bible went kaplap newspaper article, well, the one we were waiting for as, okay, who's going to provide that? Messiah ben David, because we're waiting for Jesus to come back. I've done this for us and found this way to communicate it clearly, and I want to explain it is the purification, the best I can see, while you're seeing the exact same things I'm seeing, because I am actually taking this to the degree that everything I was taught, I was wrong. I was told to make everything new. I've done my best to do that. Therefore, 6,000 years Earth is one of those multiple things. And it showed up as a gift in what is now officially a newspaper article, The Delusional Theory That Darwin Was Good for Us, and resourced properly, and taught properly, and confirmed properly, a delusion that caused that we did the exact same delusion for our governmental systems, the exact same delusion that this thing was something that was so valid that what we saw happening to the animals became what we saw happening to our telephones and the evolution of UHF and cable, the evolution of everything is a marker in history. Messiah ben David says, "Thank you for evolution. It is a marker in her history." Jesus was whispering sweet nothings in Muhammad's ear when Muhammad was the crowd was watching. Wow, that was the Messiah. He's given the Abrahamic covenant out, and then they spoke it out to he spoke it out to his people, and they then walked out of the congregational area and wrote down their little one-liners as they were leaving, listening to the prophet and Jesus communicate the Abrahamic covenant here as he was revealing directly to Muhammad as a wandering Jew, is what was going on right here. When they are told, "You shall not do evil in the land," so you shall not do evil in the land. What did they respond with? Surely we are avoiding only what is good, is what they were told to respond as. But it is they who are the evildoers. Jesus is right here whispering sweet nothings in Muhammad's ear. You got two airplanes and then one one, Jesus worked with Titus for the temple. Jesus formulated the false Messiah of the Gospels. Jesus himself is a false Messiah. You changed Yeshua to Jesus, revealing that just the English fucking with it is a shame on you, Ariel Sharon, for not getting bed partners with these guys and not helping out a little bit more on shit like that. That's why he got burned in the Germany, and we're sorry for that. I actually felt shame when I went there, but it smelled so pretty. But it is they are the evils, they may not perceive it. And when they are told, believe us, others believe, they reply, are we to believe as fools believe? I have a young earth creationist pastor. I'm documenting his absolute necessity to open his eyes to the legitimate while he's alive. Open your eyes immediately and write your retirement plan. You shall immediately, based on your ignorance, foolishness, and contribution to the ignorant approach of the dissipation of a Calvary Bible. He never used the baptism. Why? The ignorance of the leadership of the elders was just mommy and daddy not making it big deal while he chased everyone, and why I cannot get them to stop wasting their money getting this man. I need your help unpulpited, please. My father's name is David, please. And when they are told, believe as others believe, they believe. I don't know what you believe about this, but Jesus is in it, and he was actually there. Besides, that's the only way that anything from the book of Galatians made sense. How did the book of Galatians end? Let's see. The book of Galatians have ended for me as I'll show you. The This was okay. We have the 6th and 7th books of Moses problem show up there by right there, and it's just a little situational awareness of who's going to pick this thing up out of nothing. I was baptized here, and it needs a medieval magic poofing to go. Oh, this is a resuscitation plan, please. And Galatians. Galatians, I love the book of Galatians. Paul, it's 49 or 55, and if you search on the internet, we still don't know. So we have false data with false authority, not warning they didn't really study this with authority to teach it. Not their only authority should have been how I'm going to sniff around and observe everything that went wrong with it being in existence with James Ussher through to the year this false contributor to the New American Standard Version of the Bible, provided us introduction, the rightness of Paul's gospel asserted. So there was something in the sermonic, rather than sit down and reading it as a legend. We have a legend of why we're sermon preaching. Even we had that. We have a legend for building, a legend for schools, a legend for everything of how it got there through false authority. It got written down and requested and voted in and fucked up with apes into everything. An apostle not sent from men, so apes into everything, please. Nor through the agency of men. Paul was a bad one. He was 13 unluckies. That was it. 14. But through Jesus Christ, the one I just said his name, Spirit didn't stop me from it. It's even underlined right here. God, the Father who raised him from the dead, and all the brethren who are with me, to the churches of Galatia, grace corrected to show to you and peace from God our fathers and the Lord Jesus Christ. But not for Paul. Stay away from the 6,000 years Dead Sea Scrolls 2020. who gave himself for our sins, such as breaking the internet, that he might deliver us out. It was only a possibility right here. Paul was fucking you over with that 49 or fat 55. According to the will of our, there was some bad magic, 6 and 7 fairy dust Kabbalah Kuju quelled. That's what I have to, when I explained the quell theory was the, you got the Q wrong. The quell theory was your theory got the Q wrong in all your literature and publication on this broken book as to why you could teach it, read it, and why you could not understand it. Yeah, you couldn't understand it. It told you couldn't understand it. It called you teachers to hell, and you taught from pulpits. That was it. To whom be the glory forevermore. I am amazed that you're so quickly. Right here, he was talking about the Quran. Right here, Paul was discussing the Quran. Deserting him who called you by the grace of, oh, Jesus, grace. We need to take him. Oh, yeah, that was naughty. Maybe. No. We need to present ourselves as being able to determine the validity of the resources of what we are claiming to have source authority for to teach, because I'm trying to say there's not one person in the world in the year 2019 that has source authority to teach. The acceptance of the 9/11 jihad is to remove these books from these teachers, slap them on their fingers, say, your elders, thank you for contributing. However, you did not provide a warning of the scientific decision to not keep positive, any form of positive record keeping, to the construction of timing. Yes, these books are broke. The fact that those dates say 49 or 55 meant your church was broke in 49 or 55 in the beginning. Once upon a time, you knew that. And so we so quickly deserted, calling you by the grace of Christ for a different gospel. So let's right over there is that Quran thing, which is not really another. Only there were, it says there are, but there were some who are disturbing us. Am I disturbing you? I'm sorry if I'm sorry if I'm a disturbance. How about that? I'm an intentional disturbance. The only thing I can do to disturb us enough is say go to my website and see me assemble a prayer book around the verses of the Bible. I pray I'm doing this correct. Would you please buy my prayer book? Yeah, let me recount that as it comes to my little feeble brain. I've been working on this one. The only thing I can do by reaching out and tapping you and saying, this, I'm Messiah ben David, doing this for you. My father's name is David. This is the closure outline for my church that is a cult, is saying thank you. I'm intending to use all of the King James version, and I'm intending to use the 6,000 year evidence as an eyes wide shut, and taking it all and saying this is, if world peace is now to be considered, it's an open our eyes to the world you got, with the very simple reminder, all we had to do was to turn that one thing off to see everything wrong. Everything being wrong, we were disturbed. But even though I'm just here, a nice guy. My father's name is David. Is a nice thing to do, or an angel of heaven. There's plenty of stories and plenty of legends. Figure out your own legends. Should preach to you a gospel contrary to that which we have preached. So your contradiction to even your own words is actually gotquestions.org. Your own words of why you have doctrines and why you have things. So I'd like to work with us over a little bit of time to. I'm seeing a psychic accidental. We formed our entire boundary. Rabbi Shimon would have said the fence around Torah, and I'm seeing it as the center column which held us up. But we have the dome of the rock, really. And what we need, all of the words of Jesus just hanging down as we look up at the stars to see the direction of the east. Where what the wise men, Krishna consciousness. So the wisdom of the Paleolithic religions, which don't exist, of course, because we have some uh, whistling stuff. Where were they doing the deep guttural stuff? Then some weird stuff that you see a little record of. There's just no record because it was the black dark age. There's no record, so I have to do this from the nice and accurate prophecies of Agnes Nutter, which here on record keeping of a 22-year concluding effort of having memorized everything wrong with everything I've been taught, I guess, in comparison with the Bible, with the 6,000-year legend. And I put it out here so far that all I got to do is tap you on your shoulders and say, brothers and sisters, what year is it now? Winded man, who are you to decide you should make a decision? Invent yourself, writing yourself, not keeping valid record of when Eve lost her virginity. Is where we're at in world history that came out through the erasure of over here. The erasure. I have to take this as a Sparky's award. Messiah ben David, my father, my church system is broken. The erasure system of the Dead Sea Scrolls, not accepting that world peace could be had if we understood the disobedience to the church systems and what we did wrong was from 0 to whenever. We don't know when that was, so it is entirely silent. We erased ourselves by refusing to acknowledge that an entirely silent, false, dark theory erased world history. So, following me through the Baptist repentance, pick it up, and while we have James Ussher, and I still have you kids, kind of reward program of finding our delusional theory of apes growing up to become my granddaughter in school, and you having the delusional theory that I'm happy at $22 trillion in debt, and you never open up your fucking eyes. How much money does our churches have? I want kids on the floor in beanbags, not teaching us handwriting and doing worksheets from no, what did we get locally to show us that our church system had some impact negatively in the neighborhood? And what did we learn from it? Here in my local church system, my white cult teacher, multiple complaints, nobody has ever addressed him, and he's too stubborn and pig-headed, pork bottom, bald, dense, immature, no self-control, the bullshit that we were warned about. They came with Darwin. They need to be purged of Jewish legends. They don't get it anymore. Get the Jewish legends against guys like him. We don't need it. We shouldn't fuck with it. But we can play with it if we continue. If you want to continue, after these things, Jesus and his disciples came unto Judea, which is, Judea, we had that over there. And there he was spending time with them and baptizing. Pat, I've never seen water in his. He's never once baptized. He took over a Baptist church the congregation did not, eyes wide shut to him, never once offering a baptism. He was not taught the importance, so I don't even know what he understood. He had no books on it. He's got a bunch of stupid uh, pop culture literature of how I can break my kids better with black magic arts by reading, dense sex magazines and stuff like that, sending them to school where the mommy and daddy have to have the consequence of the students being taught Darwinian evolution of what does appear as that Pastor and Mr. Jimmy Swaggart have been reduced to typing grade apes, and for not looking at the density setting of the Bible that requires this display. Yeah, yeah. In order to understand how that God could do this and say, I want world peace, and this is for world peace, and He wants it into your schools, kids, and He wants your kids to understand that it is in order that verse by verse and line by line, taking it apart with these into this, and saying this is an outline for your broken cult church that you're in existence and refusing to take care of over with the broken Mormon cult church, who refuses to take care of the broken Catholic cult, medieval cult church, to the 7.7 billion of you. The acceptance of the 9/11 jihad is your acceptance for us to say that was a lot of work. It's a big long story. We're done. It actually comes with me analyzing the books in a way to explain that all I can do is some of that information, because is how did we, what happened to this into this, through the appearance of witnessing. God is requiring this, a witnessed execution of sorts, that I'm taking on a cult teacher and publicly doing this and saying, I am, my father's name is David. I'm taking on a closure plan for a cult Bible church, series of them. A cult one here, cult one there, cult one there, cult one everywhere, because there are 7.7 billion of you guys that do the same things, but you're not bad people. So what's sin? We're all the same. Yeah, what's sin? If 500-year delta, that's not even a legitimate question. I perceive, what is sin? The Apocrypha, of course, said there's no such thing as sin, so they didn't know either. And the what is sin? What is sin? Let's ask a little different authority. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one this day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. With a little bit of more authority, I hit to Job. Oh, wow. Let's face, this is the most, this is, if you're not, if you have the legend of, if Job, the book of Job, if you have the legend of Satan in your congregational preaching, sit down, take the book of Job apart, and learn the Kabbalah of the construction of, there's layer. The book of Job is this nasty Kabbalah with a Q. You evolved Kabbalah with a K, and because you evolved Kabbalah with a K, you got Darwin to clean up now. And because you evolved Kabbalah with a K and have Darwin to clean up now, it's a simple on and off with the master switch of, oh, poopy. And the Lord said unto Satan, Thou hast considered my servant Job, what there was none like him, and on earth, perfect and upright man, one that feareth and escheweth evil. So you have 4 Passover points into this book, first chapter, where if you understood it and ignored the word Satan and watched the Passover points with the Jewish legend of the name Satan, you passed over 4 Passover points that told you that uh, one came out, left, and he was the only one that came to tell him. So he was the only one who came and tell him what 4 times. The only one who came down, the only servant who survived. And so all of these big legendary flood of Noah impossibilities. I'm the only one who came to survive 4 times. So with already being washing out with this legend of Noah impossibility with the days of Peleg, what happened there? God went, no. The days of Peleg, disorderment of time, is the most delusional, most disappointing concluding remark of, if we want to say stitch Sunday, no more buying or selling of books, we say our Bible, anything printed between the years before the year 2020, and don't print anything else, is the days of daylight order of time, where before the year 2020 we had a superstition of medieval oops of retention of the James Ussher chronology without some written printed warning that God went poof at false theories of origin, giving us poof at false theories of vacant, formless, and void churches. Which, if, as I'm explaining, this thing for the acceptance of you missed it for doing the 9/11 experience and all the wars, and you still went to war and all of that, we could think about it a little bit better. Wouldn't it make us feel a little bit better if I take care of the one that we need? Was me watching this YouTube video on clitoral circumcision at 12. They were wow, this Neolithic trauma, they can't stop doing it because that's a psychological impairment of refusal to become obedient to and sticking with a gross of the gross custom that's just eyes wide shut to what they're doing psychologically and sociologically and affect into those young children. And so I'm explaining that just for an off on that, the Baptist community off on them, at the same time sit down and handwrite and put it in with this in order to go take care of shit like that, is we don't make a big deal about it because we don't want to make a change. We want to just demonstrate that we can say that is what we are to do. We turn it into shells. And by turning off our TVs and we reset our focus to, we shall take care of this one particular social phonetic ill. The entire Baptist congregation sits down until I'm done digging this thing out of this, where the Apostle Paul told us it'll take about a year. You're going to get another one, and by the way he called you fools at 6,000 years, it showed up in Darwin, our delusional species of origin. I'm here to exchange. I'm legitimately real, here to exchange. It's a big change. The make everything new. 6,000 years, thank you. Here, our only duty is to give warning and take. The explanation is right there. Our entire sermon preaching. I've heard no one's ever seen God. I've heard it. What? No one's ever seen God. What? No. What would you say to the song? No one has ever seen God. The birds chirping around me drive me crazy. No one has ever seen God. The birds chirping around drives me crazy. What would you do with that? is in a sermon as we sit down and think, well, maybe that would be a naughty one to preach. That meant we did not know what God and that meant Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and any of that shit made any sense to us as to where it came from. As to where it meant we grabbed something broken from them, they grabbed something broken from us. So we're 20, we are literally 2,000 years away from grabbing something broken. It was broken to begin with. There's nothing we can do to say it was not broken to begin with 500 years right here. It was 100% broken to begin with. Dead Sea Scrolls right here. We're over here cleaning up at 6,000 years legend of, let's put 6,000 year legend up here. The 6,000 year legend goes down to, I'm trying to come down here to the Zohar, the Second Temple scripture. I need a tree of life. We're kind of putting a tree of life right here, but I don't want that type of, you're getting a visual, a single interpretation, because I'm doing it by looking through I'm having to do it by looking at myself visually. And I'm doing my best to be the good kabbalist I'm supposed to be. How about that? Hey, I no promises, because I also did. I really enjoyed the satanic rituals at Anton LaVey when I decided that was really a cleanup point for garage abortion behavior. Wow, that was exciting, and it got them. And it's like, oh, spooky. They'll do it. All of that evil intention, evil intention, evil intention, evil intention. The crude awakening of evil intention. That's always been the child sacrifice. And they did it down in Mesoamerica. So God, with this disharmonic union into the Book of Mormon from the Kapla, we need the Book of Mormon to clean up the broken. I'm reaching out, 7.7 billion broken. Okay, I'm done for a little bit. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Grun, this will make a lot of sense. Lord, they will reply, fortune betrayed us and went astray. Lord, deliver us from hell. If we relapse, then we shall indeed be evildoers. This should have been up. This should have been on your way into Alcoholics Anonymous. That should, and if we relapse into the dark age sacrament of wine, yes, yes, that should have been on the door to Alcoholics Anonymous. Rather than we had God loves you or something like that. True statement. True statement. He's one of those guys. But bright light guys. Bright light guys. We're all weird bright light guys. I'm a weird Kabbalist who I'm here. The OTO is broken. I don't want help. You're cleaning it. I have to clean up 6,000 year Earth legend in order to, on the OTO, say thank you, Ali Esther Kali, grab him, tickle him a little bit, put him up on a corner, say that's your false interpretation of not having this other stuff, and say that I'll give you one book from 777 because there's 3 sevens, but I'd rather give you my dog who for 14 years and 7 months, so there's a bunch of sevens, and he also gave me a 3-7, and so I don't even have with my granddaughter 7. No, 2-7. I have a 2-7 with her, and she's a good one. My little this morning was the first with the Neolithic boyfriend. Actually, that's what he is. It has to do. It's everything I'm accounting for is through lost record of all of the engineering of that region, which includes my engineering research into the Yakima firing range, use of the FAA use of it while they were dropping B-51 bombs, a layer of Earth history none of us will have. Type, I'm the retired engineer who has dedicated a lifetime to working on disassembling the Bible into what would God, the master engineer, want us to do with this thing if it's broken. I'm that guy. And it is because I was baptized in one of the masterful engineering Bible churches, cult churches is broken, and I have to bib it up, I guess. I'm a little we know it's broken. So I'm going to gather more information on the breaking point up there, what he even teaches. I've been to his sermons. It's there's nothing there. And the refusal, nothing in the book of Enoch, yet I've got references in it to figure out what it meant. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I haven't used that one on us yet. Nothing in the book of Enoch, but he exhibited that refusal to figure out what it meant when we had references. That's why there were two, and then I found a third reference in the book of Enoch to reading and listening to it because I was wanting to not stop talking on YouTube. And watched it. There was reference. It could have been referenced in the book of Jude, but I don't know if that's that kind of wiggle reference of Jude is the one that, or it was. There was a third reference. I forget where too long ago. That's the point of this story. There was a mystical magic, I forget where, it's too long ago, third reference I saw on YouTube with the book of Enoch when I was calculating Earth history for the medieval magic poofing of, oh, I was baptized in James Ussher and it's time to turn this one off. It is a bad in joke ending up. I figured out how to do it because this is a mystical on and off manual, better than anything I've ever worked with ritual magic wise. And when Jesus had come to Peter's home, which your sprinkled magic fairy dust is the God semen right there. So I'm going to go make some coffee. We need the Quran in our schools. That's a true statement. In order to understand the God doesn't care.